I had a bit about it in my act, and I was like, whew.
We had a guy on that was talking about back engineering UFO technology, and that they had this idea of using it to what they would call an instantaneous delivery system of a nuclear bomb. Because the way these things supposedly can travel, now, I'm a moron, so I don't understand anything about gravity. But what they were explaining is that if these crafts work in a way that has no normal kind of propulsion, we think of propulsion as like a jet. The fire goes out the back and the jet goes forward really fast because of that, right? What they're saying is these beings from wherever the fuck they are, when these people that have back engineered their crafts, the way they move is not by propulsion, it's by bending space and time. It's by doing something to the gravity around it or the actual space of the universe around it where it can go to another place like instantaneously. So it's not like it flies, it's like it just fucking zips over to another part of the universe. And they can do it like that Tic Tac one that they got on radar, they got it on the visuals, like 2 different fighter pilots saw it and talked about it. They have video of it. This fucking thing went from more than 50,000 feet above sea level to sea level in 1 second, less than a second. So it's like beep, 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 radar. It went from 50,000 feet to that. So if you could do that with a bomb, you could essentially instantaneously detonate Moscow.
Wow.
If that's a real technology. So this is probably why these assholes are hiding all this UFO information.
Yeah.
It's because these assholes had probably were using they were like, yeah, we could travel anywhere in the universe, or we could blow up China without them even knowing it's happening.
Yeah.
We could assure that we'll win a nuclear war.
Yeah.
Anybody who would have that technology, the ability to put something somewhere instantly, and you put a bomb in it, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So that might be what all this UFO bullshit is about.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Who knows what's going on? I mean, like obviously, there's something going on, right? I think that where there's smoke, there's fire, and there's too much talk.
Have you seen these stories about all these scientists that are getting whacked?
No.
Yeah, there's scientists that have gotten whacked and or missing, and a couple of generals as well. That's all connected somehow or another to UFO technology and anti-gravity technology and nuclear scientists. And there's a bunch of stories that I've read about this, and some of them are like, this is like purely exaggerated, and a lot of people are, it's just they're taking that this guy committed suicide and he worked on that, and this guy went missing and he worked on that, but it's just coincidence.
Right.
And then there's other people that go, no, there's too many people. So now the White House has commented on it. So they're doing an investigation on this, which makes me think, hopefully, somebody who's really fucking smart has looked at this information and said there's something there. Like what these people were working on was very extraordinary and could disrupt a market, or could be something that could be used in a weapon that would destroy another country. And so the other country sabotages it by killing scientists. That's shit that we would do.
Think how little we know. Like the amount of like
you and I. Yeah.
Just like Americans, just the general population, like the amount of, there's probably the craziest technology ever that the government has their hands on right now. It's like we use AI tools, and it's like, I can imagine the AI that the government currently has, right?
Yeah.
And that's why that'll never disappear. It's because all of the governments are just sort of at a race to see who can implement the strongest AI. So I can't even imagine how crazy it is.
There was one lady that was that went missing, and there's a weird video of her because it seems like she's drunk, and she's like talking about like how, you know, this technology, that it's real, but every time that anybody gets close to it, people stop it, and this lady has gone missing as well. So it seems like she might have had a couple of drinks or something, and then started ranting about this in some weird video call.
Yeah.
But listen, if I had that information and I thought that people were trying to kill me because I knew about anti-gravity technology, and I literally thought like I'm in a Russell Crowe movie and someone's trying to fucking whack me, I'd probably get drunk too.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to do? But she went missing, though.
I was talking to 2 nuclear scientists after my show. Just these 2, like, there was a couple. They were like straight up nuclear scientists. It was Tacoma or Spokane, whatever. It's near that. Like, there's a huge like, it's like a nuclear town. Like everyone works in like nuclear science in this entire town.
Jesus.
And he was like, they were just like so into telling me about like not too much, not too in depth, but he was like, I work like 100 feet below the ground. It was like super top secret, and he was like, I started asking him questions. He was like, oh, I can't answer that. He was like, they've definitely tapped our phones. Are you out of your mind? Do you think they're like not just listening to what we're saying to people? And it was just like, fucking goddamn, dude. But
I think they're listening to everything everybody's saying all the time.
They can't
it's all getting
organize
stored.
It yet. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it just gets stored. I don't think it's like someone's listening where they can just know like they have a person with a fucking earphone on listening to everything you say. Oh, Rob, write it down. He said this.
I think probably high government officials, they probably do.
Probably, but now with AI, all they would have to do is record everybody's phone all the time and then use AI to search all the transcripts and then find an audio recording of you saying this or you saying that.
We're probably 3 years away from them being able to get everything we've ever done on the internet.
And he's got this fucking insane story about being repaired on a UFO.
Yeah, and all those guys passed lie detector tests.
Yes, all of them did.
The, like movies like that, I'm sure for millions of people around the world, same thing. It just made me curious about this,
Yeah.
My whole life, I'm like, are we alone in the universe? Does the U.S. government know more about this than we do, right? And I always wish that there was a documentary that only interviewed people who have direct knowledge of the topic as a result of work from the government. And that was the real drive of making this film. Everybody fits that criteria.
Here's the fear that everyone has, including myself. And it is the way, this is the main fear that I have whenever I sit down with any whistleblower. How many of them are on purpose, that their directive, that their objective is to spread misinformation on purpose, on behalf of the government? That they're there to just bullshit you.
Yeah, no, of course I had that thought. But for me, I stopped worrying about that when I met one intelligence official, government official, military official after another who had completely different ideological views, different political beliefs. They weren't associated with each other, and they were all saying the same thing. Mm-hmm. And so I just don't – the alternative to everything these people are saying in my film being true is that 34 people of different political parties, different government groups – with different aspirations, all got together 4 years ago and decided to tell this elaborate lie randomly with me in a movie. Mm-hmm. And for what end? It doesn't make any sense.
There's a couple ends, right? One of them could be they're being told to do this because this is a real thing, but it's different than what they're saying, and they're trying to get one narrative out there.
Well...
Right, let's imagine that there's a current coordinated effort with the United States government and some sort of alien intelligence. Wouldn't it behoove you to make it more of a mystery? Like we have found things, but we don't know what they are. And we're back engineering, but we don't know much. But meanwhile, they know way more.
Well, yeah, look.
Like that's just one scenario.
That could be a scenario, but in this case, you have people who like Rubio who found out what's going on,
right?
Who think it is very urgent that the public get caught up and find out the base facts. Yeah. His biggest fear, clearly, is we are in a high-stakes technology race, a Cold War race with adversarial nations like China to reverse engineer technology of non-human origin. And his fear, he literally says in the film, is that if we don't get our act together and take this more seriously as a country, we're going to wake up one day, we're going to find out the hard way that China got there. We won't know when or how, but to quote him, we will be screwed. And you could feel it. Like I did all the interviews myself. I'm like this close to him. His chin buckled when he said it. He was dead serious and he was super concerned and you could feel it. And that was the vibe with Senator Rounds, Senator Gillibrand, Jim Clapper. The guy's never talked about this topic in his life. He's in his 80s. He was the head of Air Force Intelligence. He was the director of national intelligence. Never publicly spoken about UAP. He comes out and does the interview, and he told me, he told me that he was doing it because it was important to do and that the people needed to know. And he drops the bomb in the film that UAP activity over Area 51 is real. It's in fact real. And he goes on the record saying that the Air Force has had a program to investigate this stuff, whereas the Air Force is saying they haven't had a program since Project Blue Book. So I think the people that I interviewed really felt like a weight on their shoulders to get this off their chest. And to give you more context on Clapper, the poor guy's wife was in the hospital dying. He left the hospital to come do the interview. And I actually said to him, I was like, are you sure you want to do this today? And he's like, no, I want to do it. It's important. Wow. So, like, I think I really felt it. These people all felt like the public needed to know the base facts that they could lawfully disclose. And to me, the more wild thing is if what they reveal in this film, the fact that there's been an 80-year cover-up of non-human intelligent life, that we're in a secret high-stakes race with adversarial nations, if that's what they can lawfully disclose, dude, what's on the other side of that line?
Right.
What's the stuff they can't disclose?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. When you're talking to these people, how many of them have had personal experiences that they either can or cannot talk about? Or how many of them, has anyone had some sort of personal experience with either a craft or seen something?
Yeah. Yeah. So
that they couldn't talk about?
There were some scenarios that they couldn't talk about, and then there were some scenarios they could talk about. But yes, Jay Stratton, for example, who ran the U.S. government's UAP task force. He was the director of the UAP task force. He co-founded OSAP with Jim Lukatsky, which grew into ATIP. He has seen with his own eyes non-human craft and non-human beings. Some situations that he can't talk about, some situations that he can. And I know he intends to talk about those in the very near future.
Yeah, I've talked to him. So is that the only one that saw a non-human being that you talked to?
No. Talked to a couple people who have.
And were they similar stories?
They were similar stories. They described the beings looking. The reference point they gave me was very similar to the beings depicted in Close Encounters. That is the description they used.
Yeah.
In terms of the crafts, one of the interviews in the film that I'm really proud of, an Air Force security guard who worked at Vandenberg Air Force Base, who's never gone public, witnessed with his own eyes, along with 5 other security forces members, a giant UAP the size of a football field that came over Vandenberg Air Force Base, hovered over them, and then shot off at thousands of miles an hour. And he went on the record on camera. He's never talked about it publicly. He's never pursued press or, tried to do anything with this experience.
Right.
And he broke his silence in this film because he thought it was really important that the world know the truth.
Did you ask him if there's any footage? I would imagine Vandenberg has some pretty tight security.
Yeah, he thinks that there is security camera footage of this.
But he's never seen it.
He's never seen it, no.
Good Lord, people.
Him and 5 other guys saw it with their own eyes. They all reported it. There's official Air Force police blogger reports of it. I got a hold of the police report. We put it on screen in the film.
That's what drives me crazy. All this could be cleared up if they released the whatever high-resolution security camera footage they have. I would imagine they have top-notch security camera footage around major military facilities.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
that's one of the hurdles we have to get past. We have to
these motherfuckers
start
are holding on.
declassifying
They've got these fucking. It's just like if that shouldn't be yours. Like that should be the United States government has an obligation to give that to the people of the world. That's what that should be. If you have footage of a fucking UFO, a real one, and you really have a video of it going thousands of miles an hour, just disappearing into the sky.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I don't think any government or organization or religion, anyone should be able to gatekeep these fundamental facts,
I know, but the problem is until you see it, it's just talk. If you saw it and you know the like the chain of command, like where it came from, or chain of custody rather, where it came from, it hasn't been molested, have analysts test it, it's not AI, it's not bullshit, it's not edited. Okay, what is it?
Yeah.
And then we can talk. But until then, like what do we have? We have the go fast footage, we have the gimbal footage, and we have the very kind of grainy, weird TikTok footage. It's hard to tell what it is because you're looking at it from the instrumentation of the fighter jets.
Yeah, but there is also other data on the Tic Tac incident that's classified that shows this is a real object that was really there.
Jamie's showing me something. What are you showing me, Jamie?
This is Ryan Graves talking about the big red UFO that hovered over Vandenberg in 2003.
How long were you there?
I'd say about 6 months or so.
And what progress was made while you were there?
Well, we came up with a bunch of reasonably good ideas about how the reactor worked. And one of them was the square base of it was essentially like a cyclotron, which is a small particle accelerator, a circular one. Particle accelerators, linear particle accelerators are just long tube essentially, and they accelerate particles with high voltage and radio frequencies till they reach high speeds. But a cyclotron does that in a small circular area. And there's this very heavy element fuel, element 115, something that wasn't on our periodic charts at the time.
But it is now.
It is now, yeah.
When did it become on the periodic table now, the way the charts now?
I don't remember. Do you remember when they...
2004, Darmstadt, Germany, I think is where they first fabricated 4 atoms. They lasted 220 milliseconds with the atoms. It's nothing, right? And then it later was discovered a couple more times they could fabricate it. Then they gave it a place then on the periodic chart after that, called it moscovium.
So they told you about this stuff in 1982?
Yeah, well,
No,
we
not
kind of...
1982.
What year was this?
It was 88 and 89 when
you
I
were
was
there.
there.
Oh, okay.
82 is when
82 was
I
when you were
at
at
Los Alamos.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So 88, 89, they told you about this stuff. So this was not like...
No, they didn't tell me about it. That's one of the things that this group came up with. The God, I keep losing my train of thought with this thing.
So this one area, this element 115 was the fuel.
Yeah, it was the fuel.
The world will forgive you for having a migraine. Can I just
It's really
say
hard to
one-
think through
I
this.
understand.
Just give me a minute.
We'll just give you more
I
booze.
just want to say one. Yeah, definitely. I was going to say one thing. Bob, for the last 30 years, people have just been on the attack on Bob. Getting to know him, the personal effects on his life. It's really hard to understand unless you meet his family and his wife. I mean, this is the last thing he wanted to fucking do, was have to talk.
Yeah, we should explain that, Jeremy, that
Yeah.
you and I had this conversation.
For
I
a
watched
long
your
time.
documentary. We had this conversation, and I said, I have to talk to him.
Yeah.
The document, there's been detractors. There's been a bunch of people that called bullshit on many of the things that you've said. But over time, many of the things that you talked about, even in the 80s, have proven to be true. Things that people said were not true were proven to be true. Element 115 was one of them. Right?
Right. Element 115, the fuel they had, was stable. In other words, it didn't decay. It wasn't emitting radioactivity. When they synthesized the 2 or 3 atoms of the 115, it did decay, and it was not a stable element. So they're kind of 2 different things. But this is kind of typical. Elements always have, or pretty much always have, stable isotopes and unstable isotopes. Like I think cesium has like 30 unstable isotopes to it. So, hydrogen, for example, you're familiar with hydrogen gas. It's stable. It's not radioactive. But there's also 2 other types of hydrogen, deuterium and tritium. And deuterium isn't radioactive. It's another stable isotope of hydrogen. But tritium is radioactive. Now, they're all hydrogen, but they just have different amounts of neutrons. So it's the same thing with other elements and element 115. Depending on the amount of neutrons it has, designates the isotope, but it's 115. They will continue to take or experiment and try and make 115 at different isotopes, and I'm sure eventually they'll come up with a stable version, but it's the stable version that has the properties that we're talking about.
So they somehow or another had acquired a stable version. Did they say that the stable version had come with this craft?
Yeah, it absolutely
did.
came with the craft, yeah.
So at the time, you having a firm knowledge of the periodic chart and knowing what was real and what wasn't real, what was your reaction to having this stable element 115 that wasn't even supposed to exist?
Well, everything was impossible.
Right.
I mean, down to the metal. I did get a chance to look inside the craft on only one occasion, and this was important because where the reactor sat might have been critical to how it operated, since everything operates without any interconnection, so the placement of components might be critical. So they allowed me to go inside and look at it. Again, I forgot where the hell I am.
So you're going into this craft, and what are you thinking when you're inside of it? Like, what are you seeing?
It's a very ominous feeling because there are no. First of all, everything is one color. It's like a dark pewter color, and there are no right angles anywhere. It's as if somebody took, I've said this before, somebody took a model and fashioned it out of wax and then heated it just for a short time so everything melted. Everything looks like it's fused together. Everything has a radius of curvature where two items meet. It's a really weird looking thing, but there was almost nothing other than a small foldable hatchway that looked recognizable. Everything was really unworldly, to pick on it, a way to describe it.
So you get inside this thing, and it's designed for something that's much smaller than a human being.
Yeah, you can't really stand up till you get to the very center of it.
And how tall are you?
I'm 5'10".
And what do you think this was designed for?
I'd say something close to half my height.
Wow. So these little 3-foot tallish creatures.
Yeah, and the seats were small too. I mean, obviously it was made, for something small. But there was no, there's nothing else in there. There's just seats, the reactor, and some of the subcomponents. There's no control panels. There's no bathroom. There's no decorative components or artwork or anything that you would recognize or trim. I mean, it's just a very bare bones thing.
You're not seeing any screens?
Well, there are archways around it that are part of the superstructure, and that one of the archways can become transparent. When I was in there was another group working on one of the archways, and you could call that a screen, more or less.
So through that archway, it would maintain the solidity, the solid, whatever metal it was.
Yeah,
but you could see through it.
Yeah, it just became transparent. Yeah, I saw that happen once or twice before I left.
Did you ask any questions about what the fuck?
No,
that
there's
was?
no asking
There's
questions.
no asking questions.
No.
But when you watch something become transparent, and you realize it's still there, but you can now see through it.
Yeah, I mean, now that's not that impressive. We do have some liquid crystal materials that are like that. They
I've seen that in bathrooms.
Smart glass. Yeah, they call it smart glass. So this is just, and I don't know if the craft is made of, an advanced metal or a ceramic. It was cold to the touch, so I would lean more towards a metal.
You're not allowed to ask questions.
No, they work on the buddy system, so I can only exchange ideas and talk to Barry. Now, this really interferes with science because science is based on free discussion, and ideally, you get a bunch of guys together, exchange ideas, work on problems, and that's how things move forward. But they're so over the top concerned about security, they split everything off, and everybody becomes stagnant. It just destroys any of the progress you can make, or at least makes it go so slow. I think they wind up shooting themselves in the foot.
Which is probably why they arrived at this bottleneck that they needed to get this madman with a jet-powered Honda come in and see what he could do.
I think that was an act of desperation. I think they wanted someone that thinks out of the box and let's just give this guy a try here, because they weren't, and they might have done this 4 more times since. Up to the point in time today, assuming they're still working on this thing.
And when you see this craft and you're inside, was there any indication that there was an area that they would use to control it, to pilot it? Was there a pilot seat? There were 3 seats. They sat around, the reactor was in the dead center of it, and then equidistant around there were 3 seats. That's all. There was a large, they're not consoles, they're large rectangular objects, also spaced, equidistant around the center. There's nothing on them, there's no buttons, there's no lights, there's no controls. And they look the same color, the same
Everything
thing.
is the same
it's
color.
It's just a different shape.
Right. And directly underneath them, there's 3 levels in the craft. The main level is what we're talking about. Directly under that, those are the gravity amplifiers, the big rectangular objects. Underneath them are the gravity emitters that look like, for lack of a better word, a trash can hanging on a pipe. 3 of those. And then the top layer, this is just my personal belief, I think that has to do with a navigation or their version of a computer with some planar panels, sensor panels around the craft that we would call portholes, but they're not portholes. They're just black areas. And I think that just determines its position in space. But I physically was in the center section, and I stuck my torso in the bottom section and hung upside down so I could see how the gravity amplifiers were positioned.
What is the roughly the size of this thing?
I don't remember from being there, but after all this stuff was over, I had John Andrews, a guy from the Testers Model Corporation, and we sat down and tried to figure out from what I saw and known sizes of things, and we came up with 52 feet in diameter. And
so
I think that's
fairly small.
Yeah, so I think that's a reasonable guess.
Now, you said there's 9 of them, and you got a brief glimpse at the other ones. How were they different?
Oh, they looked completely different. One looked like I called a Jell-O mold, and it looked like a classic Jell-O mold with the rippled sides to it. One was a very flat disc, like like a straw hat or something like that. That was sitting up on its edge, and the thin part of it it looked like a projectile had been fired through the edge of it. So I don't know if they were attempting to see if the metal could be penetrated, or if that's where the thing came from. Maybe it was shot down. But that was the only one where I saw there was, actual physical damage to it.
And that one was roughly the same size? They
were kind of too far away to tell.
And there was several teams that were working on the propulsion system, so there was different teams that were working on these different aircrafts?
I don't know. I could only assume.
Right. Now, when you're sitting in this thing and you're looking at this otherworldly craft, your goal is to try to figure out how this thing functions. Your goal is to try to figure out how this reactor. But you would imagine they would give you more time than just one day to check that out.
Oh, it wasn't one day.
Right.
Yeah, Barry was there. I think Barry was sleeping there. I'm sure they had. Now, that isn't weird. Up at the Tonopah test range where they work on stealth fighters, you go, I think, 3 weeks on, 1 week off, and you stay up there too. So it's not weird to stay up at the test site.
Right.
So, I think he pretty much, and he acted like he's been up there for a long time.
Yeah.
But
he's still there.
Yeah. Who knows?
Do you have contact with this guy?
No. Oh, no. I wish I did. I kind of thought he was going to come out after I did.
Right.
And I think I took so much flack and it's so much shit for what went on. I think I wound up helping security there, and everybody became afraid of, doing or saying anything after that.
So what kind of reports did you have to give? So you're not making much progress, right? You're just trying to figure out what this thing is, and it seems impossible.
Well, we didn't personally make them. We were always – there was never a lot of information that we gained. The guy, you would call him our supervisor. His name was Dennis Mariani, and kind of a military-looking guy. And he would routinely pop in, during the day and, hey, what's going on, guys? And he would essentially relay any information, anything new we came up with. He was our go-between, where we presented him the information, then he took it to wherever they were, assembling all the data from everybody.
Now, I assume you're working normal days, like an 8-hour day?
No.
No?
No, it was really weird that I would be only called in on certain times and certain days. And they would be weird hours, too. Most of the time was later in the evening. I can get a call at 11 o'clock at night, and they'll say, it's now 11 o'clock. By 11:45, you need to be at the McCarran terminal, and, we'll let you know when we have more information.
But what did you do while you were there? If you're looking at this object, this reactor, and you can't figure out what it is or how it works, other than the fact that it works on this element that we don't even know about.
Sure. The thing was what you do with anything. If you're trying to analyze it, all you can do is perform tests. And all we did is try and come up with every kind of test we possibly could. We tested, it violated a lot of what we thought was impossible to violate. One of the first laws of thermodynamics, essentially any machine, any device that operates always makes extra heat. Nothing works at 100% efficient. Even the headphones you're wearing, anything that takes power, some of that power is going to be converted to heat, and it's just wasted. This didn't. I mean, we looked at, back then we had infrared cameras. They're different today, but back then you had to pour liquid nitrogen into the camera to cool the sensor down and get these infrared images you've seen. But it never got, no matter what the load was on the reactor, it never got above the ambient temperature, which is impossible. I mean, you're, pulling out huge amounts of power and nothing ever gets warm. We tried measuring magnetic fields, and there was nothing there. So we started playing around with the emission from the emitters, the gravity wave itself, and saw what we could do with it and how it was focused. So we really spent all our time just trying to see what the stuff can do and what we can control.
So you were seeing what it could do, but you couldn't ever figure out how it was doing it.
No, not really. I mean, we really could only use come up with a best guess. Now, I can't say we really that I could absolutely state for certainty how anything actually worked.
Now, how did you know at all how they were piloting it? Because they were doing some tests where they were having these things fly around in the sky, and this is what gets us deeper into your story.
Right. I was out there for one test. Right. In fact, I was with Barry in the lab, and Dennis came in and said, "We're about to run a test. Why don't you guys come out?" Or I think he said, "Barry, why don't you come out here and bring Bob with you?" We went out there, and the craft was already outside the hangar and was just preparing to lift off. Now, they were in communication with somebody in the craft.
So there was a person in the craft?
Yeah, there was certainly a person in there. Now, it's not a comfortable place to be in because it's small, so the guy has to be sitting on the floor in the middle, my best guess.
And this is the same specific craft that you worked on? Because that was the only craft that you were in.
The only one that I touched and worked on. And it quietly lifted off the ground, which was incredibly impressive to see.
Quietly or silently?
Well, quietly, because did
it make some sort of a noise?
It produced a little corona discharge from the bottom. A corona discharge is kind of a high voltage brush, little bluish glow discharge. As it was lifting off the ground, you can hear a slight hiss sound. Now, as soon as it cleared the ground by about 5 or 10 feet, maybe even less than that, the hissing stopped and the blue glow disappeared. So it lifted off quietly, and then it hovered silently, if you want to be specific.
Wow. So then what kind of maneuvers was it doing?
It took off, for that particular time, it took off, moved a little around to the left and right, and then sat back down. The craft itself, they communicated with it with because I saw the guy talking in a regular VHF radio to the person in the craft. And I even saw the frequency that was on the frequency counter of the communication, the transceiver there. But what's weird is he shouldn't be able to communicate with the craft with a radio. The radio wave should bend around the craft. I mean, it shouldn't be possible. Every single thing about the craft and the way they operated didn't make any sense to us. I mean, that's something we talked about for a while after.
Why should the frequency bend around the craft?
Well, you really have to look at the way the gravity wave comes out of the craft. There's the reactor's in the center, and there's a waveguide that goes up to the top. There's actually a small appendage that sticks out of the top of the craft, and it produces a heart-shaped gravitational distortion around the craft. Now, if the craft is sitting in the air and you walk underneath it and look up, you actually cannot see the craft. The light bends around it. You're bending gravity, bends light. It bends radio waves. It shouldn't be possible to communicate with a craft that has an envelope around it that's distorting all forms of energy. But they were apparently in contact with it.
Somehow or another, through some unexplained way that they didn't bother explaining to you. Mm-hmm. So this thing gets up, it just does some very simple maneuvers, left, right, goes down. And did they discuss this with you? I mean, they said they wanted you to see it.
No, they just wanted, they didn't discuss anything with me. It sat down, we looked around for a bit, and Barry said, let's go back. We went back in the lab. All we got to do was see it. Fast forward to some months later, I did have the test flight schedule of the craft. Now, they had times they had designated high-performance tests. This obviously wasn't one that was a high-performance test. The high-performance test goes above the mountain range, and they do much more radical moves with the thing. Look, this is a prized item, and they're not doing anything like taking it out of the atmosphere or flying around to other countries or anything like that. They just play with this thing right over the test site. But they were doing some radical moves with it. And since I had the test flight schedule, statistically, the amount of traffic in the surrounding areas on the highway was lowest on Wednesdays. And that's why Dennis told us that all the test flights occurred only on Wednesdays, because it'd be the least chance that anyone would see what's going on.
And this was before the government had expanded the forbidden territory around Area 51 and Papoose Lake and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, I think that occurred after my story came out. Then people started going up on the mountaintops and trying to look down into there, and they kind of freaked out and then did the land grab and pushed everybody back. But yeah, I think all that occurred long after that I came out.
Well, that's why it's so weird when like this UFO disclosure thing comes out. This guy,
didn't it just come out today?
Yesterday.
A whistleblower?
Yeah. This gentleman, David Grush. And David Grush, let's find out who he is and what his credentials were. But he essentially said that they are illegally hiding it from Congress, and they are illegally hiding it from the American people, but they have off-world craft in possession.
Who's the they in that?
It's somewhere. Well, it's in the things they're saying is. Oh, here, let's read it. Air Force veteran has made a bombshell claim that U.S. government has recovered materials that could be proof of UFOs, including an intact craft of non-human origin, but they are keeping it a secret from the public. David Charles Grush, a veteran and former member of the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency and National Reconnaissance Office, has blown the whistle on this information, speaking with several news outlets about the crafts. These are retrieving non-human origin technical vehicles. Call it a spacecraft if you will, non-human exotic origin vehicles that have either landed or crashed, Mr. Grush told News Nation. Mr. Grush served as senior technical advisor for the unidentified aerial phenomenon analysis with top secret compartmented information clearance, according to the debrief. He also served as a senior intelligence officer in the National Reconnaissance Office. In total, he has 14 years of experience serving as an intelligence officer. So here's the question. Is that a PSYOP? Is this, we've got a non-human craft, a PSYOP? Like if I was the government and I was working on some shit and I didn't want China or Russia to know about it, and we could do some wild shit, some anti-gravity shit. I thought it was totally nuts, and I thought at first I was being deceived. But it was a ruse, Mr. Grush told News Nation. People started to confide in me, approach me. I have plenty of senior former intelligence officers that came to me, many of which I knew almost my whole career, that confided in me that they were part of a program. He told the debrief that he's prepared many briefs on UFOs for Congress, but last year decided to provide hours of classified information and data about the Materials Recovery Program. Mr. Grush claims the Materials Recovery Program was shielded from proper congressional oversight. So this is what Bob Lazar has been saying forever. This guy's saying that it was going on for 80 years. So like this brings us back to the 1940s. I mean, this means like Roswell. This is what they were talking about when all the people that were at Roswell, that were at the actual crash site and the actual claim they saw bodies. And then there was 2 different aircrafts that were flown in to Roswell, New Mexico, and took the wreckage and flew it in 2 different aircrafts in case one of them crashed, supposedly. And they flew them to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. This has all been documented. Now, if that was a balloon, it was just a balloon, why would they go through such lengths? And why are there so many people that have so many stories about Roswell? Why are there so many hokey, goofy fucking explanations of what happened, including it was a parachute, and there was human dummies, like crash test dummies that were evolved. There were crash testing things, like not according to the people that were there. What they saw was materials that could not be explained, insanely light. You would crumple it, and it would immediately flex back to the stage that was out there. And they found things that had some sort of writing that resembled hieroglyphs. They don't, I mean, these people, they could have all been full of shit. It could have been just some story, something happened, and everybody told everybody, and you're playing a game of telephone, and the next thing you know, it's this wild story of bodies and little tiny caskets and, and people being silenced. But the problem is the story is very universal. When they're all telling the story, it's real similar, man. It's a real, and the guy who was a part of the initial release, he went public afterwards and said that stuff that we showed the American public when they were sitting there, I forget the gentleman's name, but he was showing like a piece of a weather balloon, and they had this smile on their face. And this is one day after I think it was the Roswell Daily Record. They had the front page of the newspaper. The government has recovered a crashed UFO.
I mean, I don't know how big the universe is. I've heard it's hard to quantify in size.
Yeah, that's it right there.
I mean, what do you think the odds are in all of the universe that we are alone?
It's not good. If it is, it's wild. If it's just us, it's wow. What a weird fucking aberration.
But let's assume it's not us. So for a species, I mean, we can look at where we are at. We can make it to kind of the moon before we start fucking up. Mm-hmm. Maybe Elon can get us to Mars, maybe not. But so let's assume that a species that was able to come and like check us out is probably more advanced, probably more intelligent. I think they would run for the fucking hills.
Why?
Because we are idiots, and I think anybody who viewed humanity from a long enough, more objective lens would say maybe we can just leave this trash planet alone for a little bit, and we'll come back after either they have killed themselves again and regrown into something better, or when they come and visit us.
And he's the guy he's ended his career to come out and talk about this stuff because he's like this is nuts. Like this is, and if you're a real patriot, that's probably the thing you should do. And apparently, according to Sagar, he was talking about breaking points. The New York Times rejected this. The Washington Post rejected this. They didn't want to talk about it. This is the gentleman. So let's play this.
What do you mean? These are retrieving non-human origin technical vehicles. Call it spacecraft if you will. It's probably not the right parlance, but no kidding, non-human, exotic origin vehicles that have either landed or crashed.
We have spacecraft from another species.
We do, yeah.
How many?
Quite a number.
That's it. Where's the whole interview?
Probably that website.
See if you can find. Is that something you have to sign up for? What is it? What is it?
News Nation.
News Nation. Meanwhile, that might be a 100% government-controlled organization that just promotes propaganda. That guy's working for them. You got to think about all these things.
I know.
News Nation. Who are these
Where
folks?
Chris Cuomo ended up.
Oh, interesting.
Channel it is.
He's their fucking centerpiece. Look at that.
Yes, he is.
He looks a little tanner than usual.
Can we save ourselves from ourselves, Joe? To go back to the humanity sliding towards the brink?
It's possible.
Oh, here's the 10-minute interview.
Okay, let's hear this guy.
You want how much?
Just play it. Let's just see what it's up.
Military program that has reportedly found wreckage of fully intact, unexplosive
on the UFO question.
What conclusion did you come to at the end of your time on the UAP task force?
The UAP task force was refused access to a broad crash retrieval program.
When you say crash retrieval, what do you mean?
These are retrieving non-human origin technical vehicles, call it spacecraft if you will, non-human, exotic origin vehicles that have either landed or crashed.
We have spacecraft from another species.
We do, yeah.
How many?
Quite a number.
You're kidding.
No. I thought it was totally nuts, and I thought at first I was being deceived. It was a ruse. People started confiding in me. They approached me. I have plenty of current and former senior intelligence officers that came to me, many of which I knew almost my whole career, that confided in me they were a part of a program. They named the program. I've never heard of it. And they told me, based on their oral testimony, and they provided me documents and other proof, that there was, in fact, a program that the UAP task force was not read into.
Grush alleges the U.S. government...
Does it keep going? What else does it say?
The entire American public has been lied to for decades.
Yeah, there's a sophisticated disinformation campaign targeting the U.S. populace, which is extremely unethical and immoral.
You are saying to the human race, for the first time, an official intelligence representative at a high level from the US government is saying publicly, we are not alone.
We're definitely not alone. Absolutely, the data points empirically that we're not alone, yeah.
Do we have bodies? Do we have species of
Well,
non-human?
naturally, when you recover something that's either landed or crashed, sometimes you encounter dead pilots. And believe it or not, as fantastical as that sounds, it's true.
It's also harder for people to wrap their minds around the concept.
I don't know, man.
He might be full of shit.
Well,
he might be.
I'm fascinated.
Agent. He might be a government agent.
Well, to unpack that a little bit, so there are. I can only speak to it from a military perspective. So he was in the Air Force. There are programs. They're covered programs, or there are programs that you're not going to get read into. And just because you're read into one program doesn't mean you're going to get read into other ones. So his clearance, TSSCI, is not an uncommon one. It's the same clearance that I held that I was in. Having a clearance, there's two things, right? You have to have the clearance, and then you have to have the need to know. So you could view him saying we were not read into another program as something that would be conspiratorial, or you could view it as like one program didn't necessarily have something to do with the other one, so there's no need to actually read them in. I'm not saying that's the case, but I'm fascinated to understand. It sounds like what he is saying is that the United States military is nesting that program, the program to go recover, and I would be fascinated to know how they are doing that invisibly. I mean, we're talking aircraft, we're talking identification early on, aircraft moving teams, and this, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of shit.
Right.
I'm not saying it's impossible.
But there are people that are coming forward, so it's not like they're totally being quiet, which is sort of
they're coming
in line
forward
with
with
human
a piece.
nature.
They're coming forward with a piece of a pie. I'd be fascinated how all the pieces of the pie fed together. I'm not saying what he's saying isn't true, but watching that actually, for me, with my limited understanding of some of the stuff he was talking about, I have more questions that I would want to ask him.
Yeah, I would want to ask him too. We got to get him. Got to get him on here.
I bet he would come on here.
I'm just gonna go on fucking.
I feel like
though the hell it is.
I feel
News
like
Nation.
He went on a tour. It sounds like.
Yeah.
Oh, why didn't he contact us?
I think you might get more circular answers.
Maybe he did.
Probably asked too many fucking questions.
You might get more.
Ooh. Maybe I asked too many questions. Maybe the word I get him
You
high.
ask good questions though. Is he still in? It might not even matter. I don't even know if they probably allow weed in the current military. You might get more circular answers than specific ones. If you look at the answers that he was giving. And again, I'm not trying to discount what he's saying. And I personally, like I have said many times, I think it's improbable that we're alone. He was speaking in generalities and not specifics. He was talking about other people's experiences, less his own.
Yes, that's a good point. And that's what my question would be. What have you seen?
Yeah.
What have you seen physically with your own eyes?
Yeah.
What have you touched? What do you know for a fact?
And again, I'm not saying he hasn't had those experiences, but I would ask those same questions as well. And it's just from my understanding of how the military will compartmentalize, as all organizations who actually want to keep information, or at least delay the release of information. Compartmentalization is not a novel concept.
Well, that's what Bob Lazar said was the problem with the back engineering program. He said that science can't exist like that in a vacuum, and the propulsion experts were not allowed to talk to the metallurgists. The metallurgy experts were not allowed to talk to the biology experts. He said if they really did have physical bodies, the people that were working on the propulsion system had no knowledge of that, weren't allowed to talk about it. But there was all chatter. Everyone would talk about things. And apparently there was some sort of a debriefing they gave them. And in that debriefing, he said it was so nuts. He said, first of all, they said they've been coming here forever, and they also said that we're a product of accelerated evolution, which is wild as fuck.
Yeah.
That human beings in general, why we are so different from all the other primates. I mean, that's always been the fucking conspiracy theory folklore. That's the fun one, is that they came down. That's the Anunnaki that came down here and messed around with lower primate DNA and did something to it to create a human being.
I'm here for it.
I'm here for that.
Yeah.
That would make everything fun. And then I would think that the government would want stuff like this to come out if they were in the middle of like stealing money or doing something really wild.
Oh, the classic misdirection?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, if you're going to take something that gets rid of a certain amendment, or you're going to do something that allows you to infringe on rights or to impose some new sort of restrictions. And
bring the aliens out.
Yeah, bring the aliens out.
Was there any other entities that we had captured and had something similar? That's the only other story I've heard.
Do you know the Richard Nixon story?
Yeah, where he went with Jackie Gleason.
Yeah. Do you think that's bullshit?
Actually, not for that time frame, no. I could see Jackie Gleason and Richard Nixon soaking some suds down.
Well, that I definitely could say. And also, Jackie Gleason did become obsessed with UFOs afterwards and even had a house built the shape of a UFO.
Yeah.
It's a wild-looking house that was apparently for sale recently.
Yes, really?
Yeah.
It wasn't in Palisades, was it?
It was in no, it was in upstate New York. Mm-hmm. It did look like it's a very bizarre looking house. Like you see, you're like, why would Jackie Gleason build it? Want to see it? Pull it up, Jamie. Cool. You look at it, you're like, why would Jackie Gleason build a house like this? But then you hear that story, you go, well, maybe that's why he did it. Maybe because the word was that he had become obsessed with UFOs at one point in his life, and this story came out, I think, as told by his wife.
Oh wow, yeah.
This was Jackie Gleason's house, which is so weird.
Yeah,
spaceship-like house, very strange, very fucking strange.
For someone to do something like that.
Yeah,
I would have to believe they had something profound.
Or they were me. I would build that. I've never had a UFO experience. I'd build that fucking house. I love that house.
I kind of like those too. It's like when I'm down at Navarre Beach, where I have a home down there in Florida, but there's a UFO house down there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it looks just like a UFO.
I think there's a UFO house in California somewhere. I think there's one in the hills above Studio City. I think there's one. There's like a famous UFO house that I think they've filmed things there. I think it's like on stilts and it looks like a UFO.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people are always going to want things that look like that. It doesn't necessarily mean that the Jackie Gleason, that one. That's in the Hollywood Hills.
It's called the Chemosphere.
Yeah,
that
isn't that dope?
Is pretty cool.
Fucking dope.
That
I want that. Cool as shit.
But I'd be terrified living in California with the earthquakes and it being all those things.
Stupid place to live.
Yeah,
you wouldn't want it as your main house.
No,
that's a house you visit every now and then when you want to get drunk.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's get drunk at the UFO
or
house.
Just someplace private. Yeah.
Have a party. Have a little cocktail party at the UFO house.
There you go. That's exactly how I treat it.
Yeah, it's like fun.
Yeah.
But so the grays, the tall whites, the reptilians, but then there's the mantis too, right?
Right, and those are things, honestly, we've only discussed a part of my life. I've had experiences all the way from 3 years old on, and even after I was out of the program and I was just working in Florida, and I've seen the Delta or triangular craft like 3 times, and one of those times was with my daughter. When we were coming back from her gymnastics class, just before I retired.
And what did that look like?
It was like the size of a 3-story home, but it was pointed, and on the top it was kind of angular, kind of like what you see the F-117 look like, where it's angular. Mm-hmm. It kind of looked like that. It had pale grayish white lights on the underside, on the cardinal corners. And then in the back, there was a flat panel that looked like a grill where there was a light. There was like these stack of straight-up lights like fluorescent lights are that would go to the right and then to the left.
And did it make noise?
Zero noise.
And it was just flying through the air?
Yep.
Fast? Slow?
It was going fairly slow. And then when it banked, it turned, and then that's when it sped up a little bit, and then I lost it in the trees. Then I saw it 2 other times. One time was going to work, And the other time was in 2022 when I reached out to some of the program folks that I used to know to tell them, hey, there's a space on the top secret JWIX computers that they're talking about UFOs. And I pointed them directly to this this delta-shaped craft, because I was like, I know what this is, and I know what they know it is. So I was trying to let them know that you need to look at this imagery that we have our hands on. They ended up showing up with it, and they showed me flying in flight. They followed me home the next night, and it was right there above my car, and I'm looking kind of like...
So is this ours?
It's ours, yeah. It's a hybrid, or it's ours. I've always told people...
A hybrid meaning what?
Well, here it is. The whole thing is that in the 90s, I know they were on mission with me at Wright Pat, and we saw a delta-shaped craft. It had different nacelles at the time, or engines at the time. That's what a nacelle is. And then, so this new version looked very similar in shape. However, it had these glowing orbs that looked like they were part of the propulsion system.
The observations off the East Coast, we talked to other people in other drones with similar capabilities, and they were describing it the same way, the Cuban sphere. Same color, same, everything.
Does that seem indicative of things that you only see on the East Coast?
So I know, that, again, I wish there was a better place to answer these questions, but part of the reason I don't have answers is just refuse to look at this for so long, right? There's just never been data collected as far as, I know. And so, these would be questions we could answer that if we had started looking at this 20 years perhaps, that we could be answering now. But, we have to collect a lot of data. And it's interesting because there are two ways of doing that, right? There's leveraging the West sensors and things of that nature through the U.S. government, and of course, all is going to be classified, and it's always going to be difficult. And then on the other hand, there's really discovery, right? I mean, we don't have to just wait for the government to tell us, what's wrong, what's real on this topic, right? We are in an age now where technology and democratization of tools, essentially, access to space, is moving it aside and move the topic forward without being hand-fed, perhaps, people with the world's greatest sensors. That makes sense.
It does make sense. How many different types of these objects have you heard other people discuss? There's the circle that has the cube inside of it. There's this gimbal thing, which you don't really necessarily know what the shape is. But have people witnessed eyewitness accounts other than Commander David Fravor described something that he said looked like a Tic Tac? Mm-hmm. And I believe he said it was somewhere in the neighborhood of like 25 feet wide. Is that what something?
Sounds right.
So there's three, right? You don't know what the gimbal, the physical shape of it is. Then you have the circle with the cube inside of it, and then you have the Tic Tac. Mm-hmm. Are there more?
It's.
Have you heard to someone who's seen others?
On the East Coast, we were typically seeing what I've already described to you, all up and down. So even up in like the Patuxent River area outside of D.C., people were seeing them up there at the test pilot area. On the West Coast, like you said, I've heard the Tic Tac description, multiple times. Once kind of I think about the cube a bit and people were looking and paying attention, I started to hear about those being observed in other areas, such as the West Coast and further inland, actually, around other bases. Don't know necessarily if we're observing things there because they're there, because we just happen to have the sensors there, right? They could be in more because we're just not necessarily looking there. So there's a huge aspect right now to observation bias.
In 2017, it was kind of a milestone moment for UFO, just the discussion, because the New York Times printed a story. And once it was on the front page of the New York Times, it was like, okay, this is a serious magazine, or this is a serious newspaper. And you have a serious discussion now about this thing that had been, for a long time, been ridiculed. And then the Pentagon discusses it. You start hearing people. Why do you think that's happening? Like, what is it about this subject? Like, it must have been for you in 2014 very bizarre when you have this new radar system that starts detecting these things. Now you get this understanding of the fact that these things are there all the time. You just haven't been able to put eyes on them, and you haven't had equipment that measure them accurately. Now you do. And now there's this discussion of it in the New York Times. What do you think is going on?
At the end of the day, I wish I had an answer for you. I don't. But, from my, I see a lot of people that seem to be paying it more so now, especially after that article came out, myself included. Right? I mean, I was part of it. I was witness to it. But, just like everyone else, I kind of be part of my history until I saw that article pop on the New York Times. And I don't know why we are moving the conversation forward. I've listened to Chris Mellon talk about it. I've listened to Lou talk about it. And, it's very simple when I talk about it because it's very simple. It's just there are objects out there that our aviators are almost. And for me, whenever I, engage this topic, it's all from that perspective of aviation safety. So it's never really like engaging on this like crazy ontological wave, right? It's me just working on a problem I was trained for by the Navy. I was trained to be an aviation safety officer, right? So I see the signs of safety problem brewing. People don't want to talk about it. It's taboo, right? That's not how aviation safety works. It doesn't live in silence in a cone like that. You need to share lessons learned. And the government gets it now. The D gets it. That's why the aircrew reporting mechanism now. They can come back after their flight, after they've seen one of these objects, and they can report it. And, I understand that reporting mechanism has an area where they can describe the shape of it. So my hope is, we can answer that question of yours once that data gets released. I hope at some point it's classified at the moment.
Do you have an understanding of how often these things get reported?
I don't know how. My fear is that if aviators don't get feedback from the work you're doing, they'll stop reporting, right? If you just keep reporting a safety hazard day and it's just data collection and nothing solves it, then eventually you're going to say, what's the point?
Right.
I'm going to just do my thing. And I've seen some declassified pilot reports. Some of these were from the UAP task force report that came out last year. And they're fascinating. The pilots are curious. They're seeing things they understand, right? They're seeing these interesting objects, massive ones. They're seeing formations of objects flying around, behaving in ways they don't understand. And they're looking for, they're saying, hey, if you have any more questions, please reach back to me on classified if you need to. And my fear is that if they don't get that information back, that engagement with people collecting that it's going to taper off. So, I just wanted to make the plea that consider that it's a two-way conversation with those air crew.
Christopher Mellon, when I talked to him, he was saying that there's a lot more.
Eddie said he was a CIA.
It was before Eddie was deep into conspiracies. Back then, it was like he was like into UFOs and shit. It was barely into conspiracies. He's way off the deep end.
So
now.
you get into UFOs, man. That guy, God damn. Like, well, maybe it is true.
I'm scheduled to have a phone call this afternoon with George Knapp. He wants to brief me on all this shit. George Knapp is the guy that broke the Bob Lazar story in the 1990s.
Yeah.
And, and he shares my opinion. He's like, most of this is bullshit. Most of these people are liars. Most of these people are crazy.
Right.
But there's some real shit out there, too. Like a lot of these Air Force pilots, that they have eyes on this fucking thing that's going 600 miles away in a second, like dropping down from 60,000 feet to 10 feet, like in a second.
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't know. We don't know what the fuck this is. We have no idea how these things are doing this.
Right. And that's some hillbilly, like, just talking about Sasquatch.
Exactly. Yeah, it's Air Force pilots. Yeah. People who, they're trained to fly jets and have gunfights in the fucking sky.
Right.
These are exceptional human beings.
Yeah.
When they see things like that, you got to go, they know what the fuck they're seeing.
That's so crazy.
Yeah. Every day, you could go out there and look in the sky and you don't see shit. You go, there's nothing up there because you're not seeing it. But if you go to a fucking lake, you're never going to see a shark. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, it doesn't mean sharks aren't real.
Right.
It's like you're looking in the wrong spot or you aren't there when they show up. But they're real. So we have enough accumulated data to know that, there are sharks. They are real, but they're not in lakes. They're in the ocean. Here's where they are. This is how you find them. Go to South Africa. Oh, look, there's a shark.
Yeah, let's go to Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of them.
Oh, yeah. Or fucking Catalina. Off of Catalina, there's a shit ton of them.
I worked at Boy Scout camp in Catalina, and I was teaching snorkeling. And that was like, the whole time I was shitting myself.
Oh, my God.
It's the nicest water in the world, though. It's so warm and salty. It's you just float,
We did fear out there a couple times.
Really?
Yeah, we did a couple of stunts.
Nice.
A couple of water stunts.
It's a cool. We stayed on the other side, like there's the hotels on the one side and everything. We were on the other side of the campsites. It was awesome. I was like 13 and I got so roasted. My entire body became one blister.
Oh, no.
Stupid. I was stupid.
No sunscreen?
None. Out there all day long. Yeah.
So I don't know if, UFOs are real, but it's it's certainly believable enough. It's not like the sky's empty. It's filled with stars.
So do you, now after speaking with them, do you think we've had contact like that?
Hard to tell.
Yeah,
because
but
they could have been
for
lying.
your own opinion, not for listeners, not for anybody else. Just you, when you're at home and you're chilling, do you think it?
Don't know. I really honestly don't know. I couldn't say yes or no. I'm more inclined now to think there's something going on than I was before I met Lazar and watched that documentary. Because I was on the, not that I was saying that aliens are not real. I think there's 100% life out there.
For sure.
Let's just say that.
It's too big.
Right. It just doesn't make any sense that there isn't.
Right.
It's the question of whether it ever has gotten here. It's the weird question. And it's also, the problem is that you feel foolish talking about it because so many people who believe in it are foolish. And so many people who tell stories, their stories are foolish. So you feel foolish kind of going along with it.
Right.
But I'm very careful about stuff like that because I'm like, just because something makes you feel foolish doesn't mean it's true.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, or doesn't mean it
it's
isn't
wrong.
true. Yeah. So I definitely think there's a very high likelihood that there's life out there. And it's entirely possible that something's gotten here before. But as to whether or not something really has made contact with people, I don't know. If I would say, like, where's my scale, it's like probably 65% believe.
Yeah.
35% going,
Especially after talking to that guy.
Yeah.
Man.
But what he could have experienced something that was an experimental aircraft that they didn't want to tell him.
Right.
You never know, man. I mean, I just don't know what the tech. Look, I'm a moron. Like, I don't understand physics at all. I have no knowledge of propulsion systems or mathematics, and I don't know what the top of the field in propulsion experts are capable of today. I don't know. There might be some shit that they're working on that they've never really perfected, so they've never actually implemented it in the battlefield or something like that, but they have some sort of a drone that looks like it would be filled with 3-foot-tall people, like these aliens that they described. I don't know.
And they're not going to fill you in on that. If you think it's aliens, then fine. It's fucking aliens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows what that was? I mean, they're taking this guy who was a physicist from Los Alamos Labs who went to Caltech, and they sent him to these classes at MIT to learn fucking nuclear shit, and then they try to see if he can figure out how to back engineer something. They try to say, that doesn't mean it comes from another world. I mean, it could have been a Russian thing. It could have been something that the Germans figured out. I mean, I don't know. But I'm more inclined to believe him than not believe him.
Yeah, he didn't seem like he was full of it, you know?
Exactly.
And just looking at him, he also seemed like he even wanted to be here.
He did. He's talking about it before we even got out here. It's like, I just got to tell you, I'm getting a migraine.
Yeah.
And like, you know, Jeremy was trying to talk him into doing it. Like, we're going to be fine, George. I mean, Bob, this is important. It's really good to do this, and we're going to be able to really get the story out. But I think more people told me that they got more out of the conversation because it's just him talking, no spooky music, no edits.
Right.
And you get to see, like, he's honest about what he knows and doesn't know. And when he would say, like, what do you think about this? He's like, maybe, I don't know.
Right.
I mean, it's like, he wasn't a bullshitter.
He didn't rehearsed or full of shit, nothing.
No.
Like, what he was saying, if he didn't believe in that, at least to himself, what he was saying, I'd be fucking amazed.
And his story has not deviated in 30 plus years, which you can't, you try to have me tell a story of something that actually really did happen from 30 years ago, and I probably told it a bunch of different times.
I don't know what we still podcast.
Exactly.
With, you know?
It's hard, especially when my memory varies day to day. Like, some days it's awesome, and some days it's dog shit.
Yeah, it's crazy how that's on.
Yeah.
You've had a few concussions, right?
Oh, yeah.